Hi, Club Amore. Welcome back to another video. So this is our Worthy Women Winning series. I am Dejanay Knuckles, also known as the Worthy Mother, helping you birth your self-worth and redefine your perception of relationships. Um, I I really did this series because I was unfortunately my journey was rooted in heartbreak. I found out that my ex-husband had committed infidelity, and so through my healing I wanted to just showcase women who were thriving after divorce so that the women that are still in the transition can see that there's joy and freedom on the other side of their pain. And so if you are a woman is separated, who is divorced, I do have a 10-week workbook. I will leave the link in the description box. It's really just to help women to just kickstart that journey of reclaiming their life and finding their joy again, finding their self again, and just doing that forgiveness work that we need to do to move on. And so that will be in the description box. Also, this channel, I do have a daughter. So I have a 3-year-old. She may be in the background. So hopefully she doesn't interrupt. But if she does, then I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. But without further ado, we have Sherri here.
Yay.
Hi.
Yeah.
And you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sherri Hall. I'm a mother of four, a wife. I'm a women's health nurse practitioner, and I'm the owner of Adore Women's Clinic and Med Spa in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'm excited to be here. It's been a kind of a big break, like maybe like a 2-3 week break since we've done an interview. So I am excited to be here, and we have a um remarried and thriving.
Yeah.
I think this is the like seventh episode, and I think I've only had one person who's actually remarried. So it's nice to have the remarried and thriving, because that is the hope of the hope. It's like us getting the divorce, and it's like, yeah, single and thriving. But I know deep down we all want that to be married again and to have that family or whatever. So it's
Yeah.
nice to see that. And I'll just jump right into it.
Okay.
So my first question to you is,
Mhm.
what household did you grow up in when you were small? Did you grow up in like a two-family household, two-parent household, healthy, toxic? How did that how was that in your life and your environment? How was that?
Okay, so it's kind of like a two-part. My
Mm-hmm.
mother was a single parent for a while, and I grew up as an only child. So she met my stepfather. I probably was maybe 11 or 12 years old. And so I got, a single parent household. And then I also had, was able to see what it looked like living in a two-parent household. And it was a normal household. There was no toxicity at all. Even when my mom was a single parent, I didn't experience any toxicity at all.
Okay, nice. So, how do you think that environment that you were in translated over into your relationships, like going through your teenage years or your early 20s? How do you think that affected you?
Well, as a single, my mom being a single mother, I did see her, being an independent woman and, working. And I kind of was a latchkey kid.
Mhm.
And which for you younger generation, latchkey,
Yeah,
it's a,
I know a latchkey.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
So I was a latchkey kid, and I, became a little bit more independent because I had to, take the bus to school, and I didn't get rides or dropped off, things like that. The
Mhm.
other side of it is that I didn't have my biological father present,
Yeah.
So now when I look back, I know that I probably had some daddy issues,
Mm-hmm.
even though once she got with my stepfather, they were, together and they're still together. But it's still something when it's your biological father is missing out of the picture.
Yeah,
That's something that most kids crave. So
definitely.
that part, it played a big role in my teenage years. And then just looking back through my marriage and things like that, although with my mother I did see how it was like to conduct yourself in a marriage,
Mm-hmm.
communication and things like that. But also our parents kind of learn things from their parents, and some of the things may not be the exact right thing,
Yeah.
but such as like, oh, it's okay if they go out and hang out with their friends, they need to get out all the time and things like that. And so that was one of the things that I'm like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a no. But other than that, that's how I was shaped. She was single, she got married,
Mm-hmm.
but then I did not have my dad present until I was about 16. Is
Okay.
when I kind of reacquainted with him. And so, and then all the years prior to that was already lost. So the relationship wasn't how it should have been from the beginning. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So how did in the picture like affect everything moving forward?
He wasn't really active like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like I searched him out. So I found my father,
Mm-hmm.
and would go around and visit and all that, but he really wasn't still like that present dad for me.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like I'm visiting him and going over for the weekend, but there really wasn't a lot of hands-on like guidance, tips,
Mm-hmm.
tools, how to uh, dating your daughter, which that's something common today. But
Yeah.
him not being in my life like that, I think there was just like there was that
Like
bond.
awkwardness.
Yeah, that bond. We were good together.
Mhm.
He would always tell me he loved me when his friends was around. He would, they knew who I was also. So I
Yeah.
know he talked about me a lot, but it just wasn't the same relationship as with, say for instance, my mother, who was there from day one. She never left
Right.
me. He was not around, so he missed out on that opportunity. Even when he had the opportunity to try to build, he was, dealing with his own life situation. So
Yeah.
he was coming from where he was,
Yeah.
So we had a relationship, but it wasn't. He passed away. That's what I'm saying was. But it wasn't as good as it's strong as it should have been for a mother-father relation, a father-daughter relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah. So.
Um. So, what mind space were you in, like when right before getting into your marriage, your first marriage?
The mind space I was in, so I was a single mother already. I had 2 children. I was a teen mother.
Mhm.
So my mind space was stability. I was already a nurse. I was, some states call it LVN or LPN. So I was already into the nursing field, but I was looking for stability and someone that, like responsibility. I wasn't really looking to date guys, like close to my age, because at that time they were, very immature. I was really
Yeah.
young.
Yeah.
I was looking for stability, all the things that a household represents: stability, um, family, benefit, all of those normal things. That's what I was looking for in a relationship. Someone that had something to offer.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, what about like, do you know if you were like looking back, do you know that if you were like broken in some ways, damaged in some ways going into your first marriage? I know you mentioned like daddy issues, but do you think like looking back now, do you think that those issues like affected the like your mindset before you got married?
I really don't, because I grew up, like I said, as an only child, and I was around, my cousins, who my mom had sisters, so I was always with my cousins.
Okay.
And my mom's outlook, she never, talked bad about my father or anything
Mhm.
like that. So I didn't really have like any negative thoughts on him.
Mhm.
And I just was kind of like an ambitious little girl,
Yeah.
So I didn't really like think of like, oh, my dad, what was me? I
Mhm.
never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
And even my aunt, his sister, would ask me, like, my adult life, how are you not traumatized by that? Like, I have both of
Yeah.
my parents, and I didn't have, you seem so, well put together and everything.
Mhm.
I think it's because my mom really never, like, she didn't talk bad about him in front
Yeah.
of me. She didn't, like, we just carried on with life, but she
Mhm.
just didn't really say anything negative,
Yeah.
And then when I did want to start, going over by my other grandmother's house, she never held me back. She never said, oh no. She still never talked bad about him, his family, or anyone. So it was
Mhm.
just kind of like I was in a healthy mindset. So I
Yeah,
just went,
yeah.
tried, and she was just supportive in whatever I decided to do.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
really great. Like that's like the first time I've ever heard like a positive outlook
Yeah,
on
she
like
never
a
spoke
thing.
bad to me about
Yeah.
my father until she made, like, later as a young adult woman, she let
Mhm.
me know about some things, but all
Yeah.
my childhood, she never said not one negative thing,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that says a lot,
Mhm.
and I didn't have
Definitely.
him around, so he could never tell me anything negative about my mother, so she didn't
Mhm.
feel like she needed to back it up and say, well, hey, he did this or anything like
Yeah.
that. She just was always mellow, always fun, just pushed me ahead to be independent and do what I needed to do.
Mhm.
And so I didn't have like a negative outlook, as far as the dad figure goes. And
Yeah.
so I didn't know that I probably did have daddy issues.
Yeah.
Once I became a young adult, I had no
Yeah.
idea, that I did have father issues because he
Yeah.
wasn't present. We all need our both parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's awesome though. So tell us the story of your like how you met your ex-husband, how that whole um dynamic was within your marriage, and then how did it end in divorce?
Oh, okay. So we met. My cousins and I would go out. We were, young adults, and we met him. All of us met my ex-husband out dancing and things like that. And then a few years later, he and I started dating. And then, what was the second part to your question?
How was your guys's like dynamic during your marriage that made you like lead to divorce?
Okay, so the dynamic, like on the forefront, everything was great.
Mhm.
He was very responsible. He's, years older than me. But I was more into families. I didn't go out a lot. He went out a lot. His
Mhm.
social life seemed to be more of a priority than his family life, although he did do some family things. And then he, was committing infidelity, like on more than one occasion. And so that was what led to me deciding to leave the relationship because it was just a continual problem and
Mhm.
also the social life.
Mhm.
And I just kind of got over it after a while. I was just like done. So that's basically what happened.
Yeah, yeah,
I really, seriously.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, was it hard to get past that, or was it hard for you to like actually go move forward with the divorce, or was it pretty much like you said, you kind of got over it at a point, like it was more like a breaking point?
Yeah, it was kind of hard.
Mhm.
I tended to leave once,
Mhm.
and I just didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't feel like I had anyone. No one knew what I was, mentally, like what I was going through.
Yeah.
And so all they saw was that, we were put together. The house was nice, and this, the that.
Mhm.
But I attempted to leave once. Went back because I just didn't have anywhere to go, and I didn't want my children to not have a home. So I went back,
Yeah.
tried to work it out, and then after a while, I knew in my head. I may even mentioned it to maybe one person that once I get to a certain point that I'm going to leave. And
Yeah.
then it just kind of came to fruition, where I just started, like I don't want to, at the 20-year mark, I start thinking, do I want to continue with this marriage, like with this mental anguish of dealing with the mental, as my husband going out on me and things like that. So
Yeah.
I just knew that I didn't. And that's when I started basically planning my exodus.
Mhm. Okay. So how did you heal through all of that? Like once you left the marriage, like
Mm-hmm.
what did that healing process look like for you?
I think I don't think it's like not a one and done.
Yeah.
It takes a while to kind of heal,
Hmm.
because there's things that surface even when you don't think they're going to surface.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
you initially for me, my refuge and the thing that I went to was to the gym.
Hmm.
I needed to exercise. I needed to walk on the treadmill. Like at 11 o'clock at night, I would go to the gym, and
Hmm.
just walk,
Hmm.
to release the anxiety. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And then I also prayed, and I had my books, my affirmative books, affirmations, things like
Hmm.
that. So
Hmm.
those were like the two things that kept me during that process.
Hmm.
And then up until this, I'm remarried, but
Hmm.
I, going to church and just, enjoying time with my husband and my children, But like I said, that's a continual process of
Yeah.
healing. So I'm still healing from that,
Yeah,
It's not like I'm
definitely.
completely healed from that,
Hmm.
because as you go through life, situations may
Trigger you.
come back
Yep.
up that
Hmm.
like one of my friends said, the roots are there. So if it's
Yeah.
not healed, they're going to resurface themselves. So sometimes they come back up, and we just deal with that as it comes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about the new hubby. Tell us about how you guys met.
Uh-huh.
Um, and what were you looking for um differently with this time around than what you were looking for before?
Okay. So the first time I was looking for someone that was a believer,
Yeah.
but it wasn't as strong. It wasn't like my top priority. It was like I
Mhm.
want him to go to church, that type of a thing. And
Yeah.
I was in my early 20s. So I'm like, I want him to go to church. This
Mhm.
time, the faith was number one. It was
Mhm.
like number one. He has to have a relationship with God. We have to believe have the same faith, and he needed to be confident. He didn't need to, you know, I didn't want him to be out, going out, hanging at the club, doing those type of things. That lifestyle was like a
Yeah.
total no.
Yeah.
Not non-smoker,
Mhm.
um, confident, and just secure in who he was.
Yeah.
And someone that would be supportive to me also.
Mhm.
But the number one thing was definitely a believer for sure.
Okay. Okay. Um, and I,
Oh, and we met online actually.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I drew a blank. Sorry. Yeah, okay.
Met
You
online.
you
So
met online.
uh-huh.
And tell us how that went. Tell us how
That it's
that's
I wasn't I was kind of checking out a couple of different sites. I was trying to get myself out meeting new friends.
Mhm.
All of my friends were married, or if I went around relatives, I really wasn't interested in, some of the guys that were coming around. So I just wanted to put myself out and meet a new group of people. So I started doing female brunches and things like that, wine tasting and stuff. And
Mhm.
then I checked out a couple of the dating apps, but I was super nervous about it.
Mhm.
And so a friend told me about this particular one. So I went on, and I think I met him the first week that I was on it,
Mhm.
and we just kind of chatted back and forth. And we both are in the same field too, so that kind of helped. And and on his bio, it also said number one was like man of faith, the man of God,
Mhm.
and so it just kind of stood out. And
Yeah.
then we just kind of chatted, and then I think about a month and a half later, we went on our first date,
Okay.
and then since that point on, we were together.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long before, like from the time that you guys met to the time that you got married?
Okay. So, and just to add in, we met, I think I was 3 years divorced when I met him. So we met online 2015 December, started officially dating in January, and we got married during the pandemic. So 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, nice. So if you um if you were able to go back to your childhood self,
Mm-hmm.
what would you tell her before even getting into any relationships?
I would say get to know yourself. Just worry about you.
Yeah.
Get your education, travel, learn, love on you before
Mhm.
you dive into any deep relationships. Because once you're in that relationship, you don't necessarily lose yourself, but
Mhm.
you're just so busy being a mom and a wife, and
Mhm.
sometimes you do kind of put yourself, last and stuff. So if you take care of yourself, you travel, you date, you get to see what it looks like to date more. I don't want to say date a lot, but just date. That's the process. That's why you date, is to get to know different people, what you
Yeah.
like, what you don't like,
Mhm.
what stands out, recognizing the red flags and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's what I would tell myself, is just continue with your education, date, enjoy your life, have fun, travel, do all the things that you think you would want to do to just
Mhm.
make yourself a secure woman before
Mhm.
you dive into a marriage.
Yeah.
And make sure that your beliefs as far as what you want in a relationship and how important those things are, that you set, that's something that you discuss.
Yeah.
You don't leave those things out thinking, oh, no, it's fine. Get to know the family, get to know um, everything, about the person, and don't just jump right into marriage, really.
Yeah.
Get to know that person. I say 2 years at
Mhm.
minimum,
Mhm.
because then you really kind of see who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
also recognize if you see any red flags,
Mhm.
or if you see any uh, patterns,
Yeah.
pay attention to that, because shows it to you. What if he's showing it to you? 9 times
Yeah.
out of 10, you need to believe it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what would be some red flags that you've noticed, like what in your relationships, that you either had to cut off because like walk away from because of the red flags, or it could be even ones like that you looked over,
Mhm.
like, and you thought like, that's not that bad type thing.
Right.
So mhm.
So the definite thing was the socialization, having to be
Mhm.
out, always having to be around other people more so than your family.
Mhm.
Um, um, Out late at night, just always having, there's always an excuse,
Oh, yeah.
those type of things, those are definite red flags.
Mhm.
Um, just the continual lies, or if there's kind of like you're hearing something and it's kind of like they're jumping ahead of the story before it comes out, it's, even though it's kind of hard to tell,
Yeah, yeah.
just kind of want to question certain things, and just pay attention to
Yeah.
that, because if your family's kind of being put second to the lifestyle, then
Yeah.
that's not a good thing,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Um, so for our last question, um, what would be one piece of advice that you would give the ladies watching who are separated or divorced that are still struggling? What piece of advice would you give them based off of your entire experience?
Okay. I definitely would say it seems like initially, it's really, initially when you start the process of going through a divorce, it can get pretty bad, even though you don't think it will. It just kind of goes into these different levels, and but you just take the time, breathe. It's gonna be okay. Get into some activity, exercise, praying, get with some
Mhm.
groups of women, get a support system. Also, don't discount not ever being married. I didn't tell myself that I would never get married again. Um, with with this, I told myself I didn't want it to change my character. I didn't want it to change who I was.
Mhm.
At my core, I didn't want to be bitter. And that I wanted to get married again. You know, I knew I wanted to get married again. So it was just super important for me to try to maintain my character, go through the process, and not let it make me to become a bitter woman. You know, and then also to learn to forgive, because if you can forgive, even if it's not for that person, it's for yourself. You know, you kind of can move on into your life, in your next life, and what you're supposed to, you know, where you're supposed to be at.
Okay. Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So where can people find you if they want to learn more information about what you have going on?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, Brown Skin NP. I'm also on Instagram. My business page is Adorn Women's Med Spa on IG, and same thing on Facebook is Adorn Women's Clinic and Med Spa. And yeah, that's how you can reach me.
All right. Well, I can put those in the description box for you guys. But thank you so much, Sherri. This was
Thank you.
really awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye, guys.